So welcome to the second live training for Brand Yourself Beautiful. I'm so excited you're here. And for those of you who couldn't make it today, again, please don't feel bad. Life is life. I just want to welcome you regardless. Now, in week one, we dug into our beauty and our message. We created really detailed mind maps around the questions. What do I find beautiful and what do I want to say? And this week is one of my favorite weeks because it's Pinterest week. Yay! I love Pinterest because Pinterest is all about collecting images and inspiration and turning all the words on your mind map into beautiful visuals. So there is a quote I love by Elizabeth Gilbert in her book, Big Magic, which I put on Instagram all the time because I love it and I'm an original. But basically it says, do whatever brings you life, then follow your own fascinations, obsessions, and compulsions. Trust them, create whatever causes a revolution in your heart. The rest will take care of itself. Now that to me is the epitome of inspiration. And the experience of being inspired is one of the most beautiful things ever. Sometimes the little hairs stand up on the back of your neck or you get dizzy or butterfly or dreamy, and it doesn't get much better than that. And teaching you how to search for inspiration is one of my favorite parts of helping you discover your style. But I do not want you to get the idea that inspiration is intimidating. I know many women who feel like inspiration is only accessible to the artists or the actors or the poets or the people who've been touched by God. But that is not the case. Inspiration is available to all of us all the time. If you're intentional about the hunt, then you'll find the treasure. But just keep in mind, being inspired doesn't need to be this big, transcendent, supernatural, otherworldly moment you read about in biographies, although yay for you if it is. It simply begins with curiosity. Now, curiosity is much softer than inspiration. It's welcoming and inclusive. And curiosity would never dream of asking you to dye your hair pink or sell your business or give away all your possessions. So to put you onto the path of curiosity, I want you to start by asking the one question you've explored on your mind map from last week, which is, what do I find beautiful? Anything, even something small. Becoming curious about the answer to that question is what will put you on the path to inspiration. Now, another thing you can do to trigger inspiration and develop your sense of style is to become an expert observer. It's to hunt for beauty everywhere, in everything. So you don't just look at things, you actually see things. Be curious about the details of your everyday life. Pay attention through your day to the ideas you explored on your mind map from week one. So things like fashion, design, art, books, travel, nature, music, movies. These are just some of the beautiful gifts that get lavished upon us in this world. Use them as inspiration. Look to the ladies from your childhood or from your travels or at your local cafe. Look to the art and the artists, the movies and the actresses, the music and the rock stars. What are the pieces they're wearing? What patterns are they mixing? What shoes do they put with their jeans? How do they use statement jewelry, and so on? This is how you train your eye, by noticing the way other women wear their clothes, by pinpointing the things that resonate with you and the things that don't. Now, there are many ways of collecting and documenting visual inspiration, but Pinterest is by far my favorite, as you'll probably notice from the screenshot here. So this is my Pinterest account. Now, the reason that it's my favorite is that Pinterest lets you immerse yourself quickly, efficiently, and systematically. It's also amazing at helping you deepen your search because it's basically just one huge collection of interconnected images, which means that if you can find one image you love on Pinterest, then you'll be able to throw yourself down the big, beautiful bunny hole filled with hundreds of images you love, which is amazing because that's exactly where I want you to be. So we're going to have a little bit of a play time on Pinterest today while we're on our call. I just want to get you started, but you will be doing most of this in your own time this week. When it comes to doing this on your own, I'd love for you to be able to set aside a few hours to yourself one night with some wine and twisties or some lovely music in your laptop. Or you could pour yourself a beautiful bubble bath with smelling candles and floating orchids and just do it on your phone. Or you can break it up over a few days. It's completely up to you how you actually want to do this. But however you decide to create your Pinterest boards, I want you to make it a beautiful experience and I want you to make it fun. It's really important for you to spend this time alone so that you can feel completely feminine and curious and creative and carefree and adventurous and you. So give yourself the time and the environment to be able to do that. The reason I ask that is that a lot of women, I feel like I've got to get feedback from women that they feel guilty about it because they feel like it's indulgent. And I think having fun is a little bit of a lost art to us, right? It's unproductive. You know, especially when we could be answering emails or writing blog posts or baking macarons or doing the washing or whatever it is. We're just pouring out and pouring out and pouring out. So I just want to remind you that self-care is not selfish, okay? And this is a quote that I love. It's from Eleanor Brown. Self-care is not selfish. You cannot serve from an empty vessel. And this is so, so true. So I just want to make sure that we remove any guilt from you ladies. I want you to enjoy this process. I want you to use this time as an opportunity to fill yourself up with wonder and beauty and just set yourself up to have a ball on Pinterest. Now, there were a couple of you that just let me know that you're not feeling overly confident when it comes to Pinterest. So I'm just going to run through the process for you that if you don't have a Pinterest account, I'm going to go through that now just to let you know what you need to do to set one up. So for those of you that already have one, this will just take a couple of minutes, okay? And then we'll keep going. So the first thing you need to do is pop Pinterest into Google search and click the first Pinterest address that comes up. Then you need to go over to the little red sign up button on the top right-hand side of your screen and click that. Then you need to enter your email address and a password. Later on, you'll find an email in your inbox, which will just be Pinterest asking you to confirm your address. All you need to do is click the red button in the email body that just says confirm your address. Then you'll be taken to a welcome screen that looks like this. So you just need to confirm that you're a gal. Then Pinterest will ask you what language you speak, what country you come from. So select those from the drop-down menus and then press the red next button. Then Pinterest will ask you what you're interested in so that your feed can be populated with lots of images that you hopefully love. So you'll see things like home decor, garden design, health recipes, inspirational quotes, Game of Thrones. There'll be lots of things there that you can choose from. You'll see a few fashion related ones too. So like there is a fashion one. There's casual outfits, shoes, hairstyles, makeup, skincare. Now, I want to suggest that you pick at least 2 or 3 of these fashion related interests because then they'll help you get started with being able to find your fashion inspiration. Next, Pinterest will ask you if you'd like to install a browser button. Now, this is great for if you want to be able to quickly save images you find online onto your Pinterest board. So it's totally up to you if you want to do this, but I find this a really good little tool. Now, this is your Pinterest feed. Pinterest will show you what a pin looks like, which has been highlighted in the top left corner here. So just click, got it. Then I want you to go up to the top right-hand corner of your page next to the search bar and click on your name. And that will take you to all the topics you chose a couple of moments ago. You can have a bit more of a play around with these if you want to. Then once you're done, you can go to the light grey button that says boards, which is just underneath your name there. And this will take you to your boards page. Now, this looks a little bit bland and boring at the moment, but that's okay. It'll be gorgeous. Now, there are 2 sections where you can create Pinterest boards. The top part of this page is where your public boards live, and then the bottom part of the page is where your secret boards live. Now, I want you to click on the board at the bottom that says Create a Secret Board. Then all you need to do is write a name description for your board, make sure your board is secret, and then you're good to go. So before we get started, there are 5 Pinterest tips I want you to keep in mind as you create your Pinterest boards, and this will go across the entire program. So you'll find these on the first page of this week's workbook. Tip 1 is give your board a crystal clear purpose. Now, I'll be giving you some name suggestions for your first few boards, but if you want to continue creating new boards to help you develop your personal style, then be sure to give them a name that helps you recognize its purpose instantly. So if you want to create a board for shoes or a board for, jewelry or Hollywood glamour or whatever it is, just make sure you don't need to get all fancy about it. Just give them really simple names so you can recognize them straight away. I also think it's a good idea to put the boards you create through Brand Yourself Beautiful in little brackets like this. Just so there is something that distinguishes these boards from all your other boards, particularly if you've been on Pinterest for a while and you've got a lot of boards. So it's just an easy way just to pinpoint them, easy to get into. Tip 2 is keep your boards secret. Each board you create should be a secret board, which means that whatever you pin onto it won't be seen publicly on Pinterest. It'll only be seen by you. For now, it's important for you to be able to work through the creative process without that creepy feeling of being watched, because this is, it's just very personal, okay? This is a really personal process, and I just want you to be doing this for yourself and no one else. So all you need to do to make your board secret is to flip the secret toggle when you go to create a new board. If you want to switch it to public later, that is totally fine, okay? It's completely up to you. But for now, while we're going through this program, I just want you to keep it secret. Now, tip 3 is to write pin descriptions. Now, this isn't essential if your time to spend on this process is limited. So I don't want this to be something that puts pressure on you girls. But using the description box underneath each pin to make a note of exactly what inspires you about that image is a really good idea. It doesn't need to be in enormous detail, just a few descriptive words to put the image into context for you later when you're wondering what the heck it was that you loved about it. Is it the color? Is it the pattern, the texture, the shape, the mood, the feeling that it gives you? And this is the format I like to use, which you'll see on my screenshot here. It's just simple, easy to do, easy to read. And the great thing about going through this process is that it will encourage you to study and dissect your inspiration. And this helps you continue to define what's beautiful to you. And if you can go back to an image and then you can't figure out what it is you loved about it, then I just want you to get rid of it. But again, this is not something to add pressure to you. If time is not on your side at the moment, then just don't worry about this bit. And it's something you can always add to later too. Now, the number 4 tip is don't be afraid to delete pins. As you continue adding pretty pictures to your boards, your pins will start becoming more and more specific. And some of the images you pinned in the beginning might start feeling a bit meh as you go along. And that's good. It means that you're defining and redefining your style. So I want you to go back through your boards every now and then, just scroll through them, and I want you to just consistently be getting rid of images that don't inspire you as much as they did when you first started. So just delete. Don't be afraid to delete, okay? They'll only distract you from the images you love, and they'll weaken the board as a whole. So we want to keep your board super high quality, okay? So all you need to do to delete a pin is click on the pin you want to ditch, go down to the bottom left-hand corner of the pop-up box and click the little grey delete button, okay? And it's gone skis. Easy. Tip 5, and that is pin no more than 50 pins per board. Now, this isn't across all boards. This is just for this program, okay? The more stuff you collect, the more stuff you can be inspired by, which is amazing. But when it comes to Pinterest, there's a downside to this, and that is that it can turn you into a hoarder. And hoarders are kooky because they collect indiscriminately. And you, my darling, are not going to be one of those. I want you to be a caring and selective curator. So in other words, you need to be picky, picky, picky. All right, please. Pin no more than 50 pins per board, but no less than 20. And then once you hit the 50, I want you to stop, or you can start going through your boards again and start deleting, okay, and refining. Alrighty, so we are ready to start creating your first few Pinterest boards. So this week, I want you to focus on creating 3 boards. The first one will be called Universal Style. The second one will be called Color Palette. And the third will be called Fashion Inspiration. You'll find more about some of the details of these boards on the second page of this week's workbook, so you can refer to that throughout the week. So let's start with your first Pinterest board, which will be called Universal Style. Now, I call this board your Universal Style because I want you to understand right from the start that your unique personal style is never just expressed through your clothes. So style is holistic in everything. So the images you pin onto this board don't need to be related to fashion. They can be, but really they can be anything at all, so long as they're an honest and real reflection of what is uniquely beautiful to you. Now, this is just an example of my holistic style here, which is expressed in lots of different images. So I want you to see how my definition of beauty seeps into every area of what I consider to be my own lovely little wonderland. So the Pinterest images you are drawn to will inspire your personal style, but they will also inspire the interiors you love, and the art and the architecture and the graphics and the gardens and the packaging and the food. You'll find that as you discover your personal style, that the style will spread across the visual elements of every aspect of your life. So I want you to use this first Pinterest board as a way to push yourself into thinking beyond just clothes, shoes, and gorgeous handbags. I want you to focus more specifically on the visual design elements that you love. So things like color, shape, line, texture, pattern, mood, and all that art school stuff. You don't need to worry about how a particular image will tie into your unique personal style at this stage. We'll get to that bit in our third Pinterest board and over the next few weeks as we start fine-tuning. I just want you to continue collecting images you love, deleting images that you're not loving so much, and then you'll see that little by little your definition of beauty will start to emerge. So I'll get you girls to pull out your beauty mind map so that we can start bringing it to life. And what I want you to do is scan over all the words that you scroll back down in week 1. And I want you to begin with the words on your mind map that jump out at you the most. So you can even get a pen or a colored something and just circle the words that jump out at you the most. And then we're going to go over to Pinterest and start searching for images that could be a visual representation of those words. So I want you to get yourself lost, and then I want you to keep digging. I want you to look for different versions of an image, different pairings, different patterns. Stay curious, click on the image to find out more, follow the trail, because that's what's going to bring you closer to your style. Now, the words that jump out at me from my mind map are things like Marie Antoinette, Meadows, Art Nouveau, Swan Lake, Tim Walker, Breakfast at Tiffany's, lace, fur. So I would start with one of those words. I would go and type it into the search box on Pinterest, and then I'd scroll down until I found an image I loved and wanted to pin. Now, the next thing that you can do is to start mixing your keywords. So I might try something like Marie Antoinette and Kirsten Dunst, or lace and street style, or Tim Walker and Vogue. So I want you to start trying to get more specific with your search as you go along. So I just want to show you this as an example. So let's just use my fascination for Marie Antoinette. So in the keyword box at the top of the page, I mixed the words Marie Antoinette and Kirsten Dunst because I'm a bit obsessed with that movie. Now, once I press enter, you'll see a whole heap of yummy images pop up. But you'll also notice that underneath the search bar, but above the images, you'll see that Pinterest has given you a whole lot of other search ideas. So you will see things like Sofia Coppola, who is the director of the movie, and then you'll see Annie Leibovitz, the photographer, who shot Kirsten Dunst for her Vogue cover that she did. You'll see Rose Byrne, who was one of the co-stars in the movie, and you'll see Versailles, which is where the movie was shot. Now I can go in then and click on any one of these keywords so that they'll be added to what I already have, and then that will continue to refine my search even further. So do you see how Pinterest can just be this incredible tool for searching for inspiration? Now, the other thing I love about Pinterest is the related pins section. So for example, up top here is one of the Marie Antoinette images I love, which I just clicked on from my search that I just made. Then underneath, you'll see a whole bunch of smaller images, which is what Pinterest calls the related search section or the related pins section. Now, if I continue to scroll down, Pinterest is going to show me hundreds of images that are similar or somehow related to the top image that I just clicked on, which means it's basically just throwing you down the rabbit hole, which is exactly where I want you to go. But before you get too carried away with your pinning, for every few pins, I want you to quickly scan back over your messaging mind map, and I want you to check for inconsistencies with the images you're pinning. I want you to check for misalignments. I want you to know for sure that for every pin on your universal style board is a beautiful mashup of both your mind maps. So you'll probably remember this little illustration. For every image, you need to make sure you're hitting that purple sweet spot right in the middle. Okay, now you'll probably find that there are going to be lots of images that are really beautiful to you, but you're going to end up deleting some of them because you'll realize that they aren't aligned with your message, which is great. So if your message mind map has a whole heap of words around the idea of being a chic and sophisticated businesswoman, then it does not matter how beautiful you think your favorite Guns N' Roses poster is, the two of them are not working. They're misaligned. Do you see? And just as another more serious example, I was invited to be a guest on a podcast recently where I was asked to workshop some of this stuff with the host. And the words she was putting onto her beauty mind map were things like water, refreshing, tranquil, relaxed, beach, sleep, sand, deck chairs. But then on her message mind map, she had words like powerful, strong, savvy, dynamic, energetic, fierce, firm, courageous. So her beauty words were kind of slow, gentle, relaxing, lazy words, but her messaging words were big, strong, powerful words. So you can see how there might have been some confusion for her audience and why they might be perceiving her differently to the way she actually intends them to. Okie dokie. So here is a screenshot of my universal style Pinterest board. So you will notice that this board is a big blend of lots of different types of images. And although the images are a perfect reflection of what is beautiful to me, just as importantly, they're also in alignment with the message and heartbeat of my brand. Now, the words that come to my mind when I look at these pictures are feminine, soft, warm, safe, dreamy, free, romantic, light, messy, creative, caring, sweet, gentle, embracing, empowering, nurturing, loving, imperfect, unique. These images are perfect for my universal style board because they express the things I want to be known for and the things I want a woman to feel when she makes a connection with me personally, but also with my business. Now, once you've completed your universal style Pinterest board and you have between 20 and 50 really high quality, beautiful images, then I need you to deepen your search even further for your next board, which is going to be your color palette board. Now, one of the most important aspects of your unique personal style is your color palette. Now, color in clothes have the power to trigger an emotion instantaneously and wondrously, both in you and in the people you're surrounded with. So do not underestimate it. Right now, your favorite color palette might be crystal clear to you. It might even be the exact same color palette you obsessed over when you were a little girl. Now, when I was little, I used to collect anything and everything that was little twin stars or precious moments. I used to have this little Bible that was precious moments, and it was my favorite thing in the world. Do you girls remember them? So pastels were totally my jam, and I still love pastels. Even though the pastels I wear today are a little bit dirtier, they're not quite as sweet. I just think it's really interesting to see where that love for anything pastel-y actually might have come from. Now, you might have had a favorite color palette growing up, which is still the same today, but more than likely it's been watered down over the years because of fashion rules and trends or availability or profession or lifestyle, or because the brand of your business is completely different. Or you might not have a favorite color palette at all, which is totally fine too. Either way, I just want you to put all of that aside as you create this board, and I want you to start from scratch. Now, to get started with your color palette board, I actually want you to begin by looking at your universal style board first. Now, this is my universal style board here in the screenshot. What I want you to do is take an overall look at this board and use the images you've already pinned as clues about the colors that could potentially become a part of your color palette board. So I want you to look at the kinds of colors you were drawn to when you weren't all focused on being drawn to the colors. So there's probably a pretty large number of them. But what I want you to do is focus on the 5 to 10 colors, tones, and shades that you love most. Next, I want you to click on the images that are filled with those 5 to 10 colors, tones, and shades, and then repin them onto your color palette board. Now, this can be a bit of an evolving process, so I don't want you to feel like you're locking yourself into this one color palette for the rest of your life. Okay, you'll be able to continue refining and tweaking your colors throughout the program, and then of course beyond that. But this is just our starting point. Okay, once you've got at least a handful of pins on your color palette board, I want you to start digging deeper into those 5 to 10 colors that you've chosen. So I want you to look for different inspirations, different combinations, different representations. Look at how different colors work together. Look at your brand from a distance. So always step away from your board and try to look at all the pins as a whole, and then continue deleting any irritators that distract from that palette. Now, again, the images you choose do not need to be fashion related. They can be anything at all. I want you to experiment, but I also want you to remember that your color palette needs to, again, sit in that purple sweet spot on that illustration, which is the mashup of your two mind maps. So what do you find beautiful? What do you want to say? All right, you're going to hear me say those questions over and over again. Now, another really cool thing you can do to help you with your color palette board is to search for the pins of a blog named Design Seeds. Now, this is in Pinterest. Now, Design Seeds is a lady who creates color palette samples which have been inspired by images submitted by artists and makers and designers and photographers. So they're always really gorgeous images. So to do that, to make that search, all you have to do is type into the search bar at the top of Pinterest, color palette seeds, and then type in the colors you are most interested in exploring. So for me, I'm interested in exploring different combinations of pink, green, and brown. So they're my three main colors, although I've got, different tones and shades of those colors, and I've got neutrals in them. They're my three main colors. So I typed in color palette seeds, pink, green, brown. And then these are the images that popped up. Aren't they stunning? Right? So you could even literally go to these and just pick one of these and then just pull all your colors from that one. So this is just a really lovely way to start if you want to get the ball rolling quickly. Now here is a screenshot of my color palette board. Now on my universal style board, I had lots of different colors. There was lots of different pinks and greens and blues and purples, lots of really light, fresh colors, and a few darker, more organic, like moody browns and grays, and highlights of black. And I'm just going to go back and forth a couple of times so that you can compare my universal style board and my color palette board. And I just want you to see the difference between them. Okay, so look at all these colors. There's a lot more colors on this board. And then these are the colors that I've chosen. So I've basically pulled out of this board my pink, my green, and my brown. And then I've put that into this board, into my color palette board. Now, I also added to this board, and I want you just to be aware that you don't want 10 actual colors. Like, you want to add into that, like, you know, different shades of a particular color. You want to add neutrals. So in mine, like, I've got a lot of whites and creams. I've got highlights of black. So that's a part of your 10, all right? I don't want you to have like every color of the rainbow, because it just gets too much. All right. Now, I want to show you here, again, this is just a comparison for you to see it like as big picture stuff, just how the images from my color palette board tie in really beautifully with the graphics of my Waking Up in Paris site. And I just want to explain why I chose these 3 colors as the foundation of my personal style, why they are beautiful to me, but also why they communicate the message of my brand in the strongest way possible. So for me, the pink represents exactly who I am and the fact that it's my favorite color, but it also sends a message to my audience that my brand is feminine and romantic and sweet and playful and warm and embracing. And then I chose the green because I feel like that speaks to my love of nature. But for me, the green also represents a life lived beautifully. It's real and it's fresh. It represents growth and renewal, restoration and transformation, which is absolutely the core of what Waking Up in Paris is all about. And then the last color I chose, which I added right at the end, I didn't originally have brown in here, but I did choose the brown, which I decided because I felt like it represented like my dirty, messy, imperfect side of who I am. I feel like brown is honest and it's organic. But it also lets my audience know that my brand is reliable, that it's stable, that it's warm and honest, and those things mean a lot to me. Now, again, when I'm talking about brand doesn't necessarily mean business, okay? Brand is message. So again, for any of you who don't have a business, this isn't necessarily business related. This is just what you're trying to say to the world, okay? What is your message? Now, here I wanted to be able to show you how my color palette ties in with my wardrobe and also with my brand photos. So you will see in this shot here that I'm picking up the pinks and the greens and the browns. You're seeing that also a little bit hung up in my wardrobe. So I just want to see, I wanted you to see the seamlessness of that. And then here's another example where it's just all about the pretty the peachy color of my brand. And then here's another one that just is light and bright and a little bit cheeky and playful. Now, your Pinterest boards, your website graphics, and your wardrobe aren't going to harmonize with each other like this straight away. They can, but it's a process, right? And it takes time. But as you work through the Brand Yourself Beautiful program, what you'll be doing is creating the roadmap that will get you to this destination. So this is what we're working towards. And I just wanted to show you these just so that you can see what's possible. Okay. But before we go on, I just want to show you one more thing. Now, this is a cooler color palette, which I absolutely adore and which I could have pulled from my original Universal Style Pinterest board because all these colors showed up on that board. So I'm going to flick again. Can you see where all those blues are coming from and the pretty greens? Okay, I'm just flicking just so you girls can compare. Now, if I went back to my beauty mind map, then I would say that this board with all the cool, beautiful, you know, greens and blues, that this absolutely reflects what is beautiful to me. I think the color palette is stunning and it definitely captures one of the many facets of who I am. And I know that because it came straight from my Universal Style board, which is what it was inspired by. But then if I went to my message mind map, then I would realize pretty quickly that this cooler color palette isn't aligned with what I'm trying to say through my style and my business. So it's missing the warmth and the femininity and the cheekiness that I want my brand to have. So for me, there's just not enough fun in it and there's not enough warmth in it. All right, so I don't use it. Now, this is another color palette that I also could have pulled from my Universal Style Pinterest board because, again, all these colors showed up on that board, all the browns. And I think, again, this palette is beautiful. It's really rich and moody and deep and raw. But again, when it comes to my message, it's misaligned. So it just doesn't capture the complete story I want to be able to share through my clothes. It's missing the lightness and the freshness and the playfulness that I want people to feel when they come in contact with me. Okay, so back to my color palette board again. So this is my final color palette board. Now, I don't want you to feel like by choosing this color palette that you'll only ever be able to buy clothes from this one color palette for the rest of your life. Okay, I've shown you examples of 3 different color palettes. And to be honest with you, my wardrobe is actually filled with all of them because my style is very developed. But when it comes to getting dressed for my business, I do usually try to wear pieces that mirror my original color palette of pink, green, and brown, and then a handful of neutrals. And it doesn't always happen that way. Like I've got blue on today, but that's okay, you know, like it all works and it's still telling the same story. But the thing is that this color palette continues to be my roadmap. So this is kind of the thing that I've got in the back of my mind whenever I go to buy a piece of clothing or when I'm at the shops or when I'm, you know, looking at particular colors or prints or whatever it is. This is what is in my mind. Now, when you're in the early stages of discovering your unique personal style and brand, you need to focus first on the color palette that will be the best visual representation of you and your message. So I can pepper these other color palettes into my wardrobe later, which I do, and you can do the same. So you can start pulling different color palettes and pepper them through your wardrobe, but you need to build, you know, that first color palette and that first foundation before you start doing that. All right. So for now, I just want you to focus on collecting images with colors that are beautiful to you and that strongly communicate the message of your brand, and just focus on those for now. Okie dokie, the final board. Now, do you girls need a breather? Do you have any questions? Are we good to keep going? Thumbs up, or just unmute yourself if you've got any questions. Are we good? Awesome.
Clarissa, I have a question.
Yes, Leah.
I actually have 2 different businesses, so I see myself having 2 brands. I don't know. One of the places I kind of get stuck is which one would I choose?
Yeah.
And maybe they shouldn't be that different.
Well, honey, can you tell me what's the audience of each of them? Are they a similar audience or are they completely different audience?
They're a little different.
Can you tell me who they are?
The first audience is typically, I'm a recruiter, so would be like a hiring manager, engineering manager,
yeah,
or maybe an executive in a mid-sized to larger company. And then and mainly men, not always men, but they are often men.
Yeah.
Middle-aged or older. And then I want to create more of an online business that appeals to small business owners to help them with their hiring.
Yeah.
And I'm not fully grasping what that audience demographic is yet. I know what their business is. I know a little bit more about their businesses, but it seems like that, I guess maybe I need to do more research on that one. So maybe I should stick with the first audience because I know it better, but
I just wonder if you stick with the first, because again, this is something that you can go through. It's a process you can go through over and over, and it's going to be a little bit different each time depending on your audience, okay, and depending who it is that you're trying to attract. So I would suggest just going with your first audience because it seems like you're a lot clearer about who they are. And then once you've actually figured out that second audience, then go through the process again and see what you come up with. Does that?
Yeah, but so for now, this week, just so I'm clear, because I think sometimes I get ahead of myself and get confused. I mean, is it more about just, is it less about what I want to say right now and more about what I love? I just want to make sure I'm kind of spending my time doing the right things. But
yeah, do you know what? I feel like it's both, but I do feel like it always comes down to what is beautiful to you. Like, I feel like that is the first most important thing. And then you want to slip your message and your audience into that. Okay, so the first priority is always what is beautiful to you. And then we want to be able to communicate that in a way that it is received well and that it's received correctly. Does that make sense?
okay, thanks.
Does that help,
Yes.
Leah, or are you still confused?
Thank you.
Alrighty. Okay. So the final board we're going to create today will be called Fashion Inspiration. And this one is all about the clothes. So you're going to take all the beauty and the gorgeousness you've been marinating yourself in while you've been creating your first two boards, and then you're going to apply it to your search for actual outfits. So if the shapes you've discovered and that you love are kind of stiff and structured, or soft and flowy, or a combination of both, then I want you to look for images that use those elements in the clothes. If the colors you love are pretty and powdery, or they're rich and jewel-like, or cool and sleek, then look for images, again, that use those colors in the clothes. If the patterns you love are geometric and fun, or organic and curvilinear, or floral and feminine, then look for images that use those patterns in the clothes. Do you see where I'm going? So I've created a little checklist of things that I want you to look for when searching for pictures to pin onto your fashion inspiration board. So I'm just going to run through those now. You'll find that at the bottom section of page 2, I think. So let me just run through those now. So the first thing I want you to look at when you're pinning actual outfits onto this board is the overall feel. Because there are times when the reason you love a particular picture has nothing to do with the pieces of an outfit, but the overall vibe of it, so the way it's all been put together. Next, I want you to look at the individual pieces of an outfit rather than looking at it as a whole. So try dissecting the outfit into pieces that could potentially be incorporated into your wardrobe. Then I want you to look at the silhouettes. Look for shapes and cuts that catch your eye, or that you know that you feel good in. Then the colors, and you'll be really familiar with the colors by now. You'll know what you love because you've got your color palette board. So look for outfits that are filled with your favorites, but don't neglect your neutrals. So don't go, like, I wouldn't be looking for pink, green, and brown. Like, I would still be looking, like, I'd still be looking at denims, and I'd still be looking at, you know, whites and creams and those sorts of colors. So just don't neglect your neutrals in that. Then I want you to pay attention to the fabrics and prints. A lot of the time the fabrics might be hard to distinguish in images, so just try to pinpoint the basics like soft, sheer, denim, leather, knit, lace, and then notice the prints that you're drawn to too. And then lastly, the styling techniques. Look at how a particular piece is actually worn. So look closely at all the little details of an outfit, like the way the sleeves are rolled up, or a shirt half tucked, or pieces that are layered together in a way that you really like. Or look at the accessories, or the way they're wearing their hair, okay? And as you start pinning, you might start to recognize a particular style type emerging. You may not too, which is totally okay. So either way is fine. Now, style types are basically just different looks that express common themes and personalities. And if you're interested in exploring style types, you'll find lots of boards on my Pinterest page, which you can click on and have a little swan around in. So there, on that page, there's mum style, curvy style, romantic style, bohemian, whimsical, vintage, preppy, classic, tomboy. So there's lots of styles there that you can explore, okay? So you just need to just type in the box, Waking Up in Paris, Clarissa Grace, and then that will take you to my Pinterest page. Now, I just want to say too that my personal style doesn't really fit into any particular style type. So if yours doesn't too, that's completely fine. So my style type is a little bit romantic, a little bit bohemian. I do a little bit of French girl with touches of vintage and hints of edginess. Like my style is basically just a big hodgepodge of what I consider to be beautiful and gorgeous. You know, pieces that express my beauty and my message, but it's a style that is uniquely and entirely me. And yours will be exactly the same. So for some of you, you might find that you really relate to one or two of these style types. For others of you, you know, you might not relate to any of them, and that's okay. People will love it, people won't, that's okay. All right, you don't need to make everybody happy. Yeah, now, something I want you to be careful of with this board is to not pin too many high fashion images. I want you to focus on the types of clothes that you would actually wear in real life. So before you pin an image onto this board, I want you to ask yourself, would I actually wear these clothes in real life, or do I like it on more of an abstract level? So if you realize that you like it on more of an abstract level, then I want you to feel free to pin that image onto your universal style board, excuse me, or your color palette board. If the image doesn't work on either of those, then just move on and forget about it, okay? But if you can dissect an image and pinpoint a particular design element or a piece within the outfit of the image that you think you might be able to incorporate into your wardrobe, then pin to your heart's content. The trick is I just want you to be aware of it, okay? So for example, I might want to pin the image on the left because I love the lace top. I think it would look great with a pair of jeans that I already have in my wardrobe. Or I might want to pin the image in the middle because I love the colors of the overall outfit and I adore the flattering shape of the little peplum that pops out at the waist. Or I might want to pin the image on the right because I'm a total sucker for pink fur, even though I'd never be caught dead wearing it with a crop top or a blush pink tulle skirt. So go ahead and pin some of those gorgeous Vogue editorials here and there. Just be careful, okay? I want you to be able to pinpoint the reality part. So this is my fashion inspiration board on Pinterest. And I'm sure you'll notice lots of my original inspirations coming through here. So lots of words that have been taken from my original mind map have now been translated into real clothes. Isn't that cool? Do you guys see how that works, right? So you're taking all those elements that you love and you're translating them into clothes. Alrighty, so homework. So number 1 is to finish your universal style Pinterest board. All right, that's your first core board. So you have to do these in this order, okay? Because everything comes from that, or your second board comes from your first board, and your third board comes from your second board and your first board, all right? So they all work one by one. And then you need to finish your color palette Pinterest board, and then your fashion inspiration Pinterest board. Alrighty, now that is it for today.